are here. We are here with the support of Fresenius, our sponsor for this evening's webinar, to talk about lifestyle and PD. And we have lots of wonderful guests, and we're waiting for one more who we hope will still join us, and we will let her in progress as we go. But we will start out by introducing them ourselves. And I'm Dory Chattel. I'm executive director of the nonprofit Medical Education Institute. And we develop evidence-based education for people with kidney disease. And we have a special place in our hearts for home dialysis, and we run Home Dialysis Central. And I'm going to go to Jen next because she's on the MEI team.
I'm Jen. I work for MEI as program director. I was a home therapies training nurse for 10 years, and I actually had my dad on PD as well. So I kind of know it from the family member perspective too.
Excellent. All right, now we're going to go in alphabetical order. So Amar, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us your story, how you came to have kidney failure, how you came to be on PD, and then after everybody gets introduced, we'll talk about what you liked about PD, how it made your life work, things like that.
Okay, awesome. Hey, everyone. My name is Amar. I'm 27 years old. For the past 8 years, I've been on peritoneal dialysis. I recently just got a transplant about 3 months ago, which has been amazing. I'm still kind of in the recovery process, but I'm feeling pretty good, and, no machines, nothing, but I was on dialysis for quite some time. And that journey, it definitely was a journey, that's for sure. But honestly, I try to still go to school, still go to work and live my life. And I know the doctors told me this is going to be a while until you get a kidney transplant. They were telling me the wait list is 8 to 10 years. And I was, I mentally prepared myself for that. So I was like, you know what, I'm not just going to sit around and not try to do anything, So I did go to school, go to work, and my younger sisters would help me set up the machine sometimes. And because I was on the machine, I couldn't really go out and hang out at night with them. So they would come into my room and hang out, and we would just have slumber parties all the time. So
That's
me and my
so
3
sweet.
sisters.
That is so nice.
Yeah, it was really
nice.
nice. Yeah, so I feel like my family was a good support, and we adjusted really well. It wasn't all rainbows and butterflies, I think for me the biggest thing was the traveling. I felt so anxious to travel with a machine. Technically you can travel, and there are people who travel on PD. But for me, I just felt you know what? I don't need to go anywhere. I'm gonna stay right here until I get a transplant, hopefully. That way I don't have to worry about this machine,
It helps to live in such a beautiful area.
No. I know. It's not that nice here, I hardly go to the beach.
But there is one, and you could.
No, I know.
I would go to the beach if I were you, but not very often because sun. But
right now.
Anyway,
I'll go to Disneyland. That's my thing.
Disneyland is fun. I have been to Disneyland. I went to Disneyland with Bill Peckham, and we rode. Bill was on dialysis for I think more than 24 years, I think, before he passed. But yeah, we rode all the roller coasters, and he would tease me because I had to keep stopping to use the restroom, and he didn't.
That is a good perk of PD.
Yes, called me a urinator.
Yeah.
Not wrong, but I was not something I'd ever been called before. Anyway, Bill was great.
But
so Latrice, you are next in the alphabet. Tell us about you.
Hello, my name is Latrice. I'm 42 years old. I got diagnosed with some rare kidney disease in 2008, and they don't really know why. Have no other health issues or problems, nothing, no diabetes, no hypertension. All of a sudden, it just popped up that my creatinine was a little lower, a little higher than it's supposed to be. And I was living with, renal disease from 2008 to 2013. 2013, somehow I was very anemic and I had to have a blood transfusion. And the nurses were not compliant and they ran it too fast.
Ooh.
And by the morning, I was in full blown kidney failure.
Oh, goodness.
So in 2013, they wanted me to choose. And I was like, hold on, wait a minute, what is happening? So it happened very abruptly. Not that I didn't know I had it, but to choose dialysis. So I spoke to a couple of nurses, and then I decided to go on PD. And so by the time of November, I think that was like October possibly of 2013. No, I think I got on in November. No, 2013. About November, I had surgery, and I was on PD for 4 years. So that's how my story started.
All right. All right. Thank you. And well, you left out that you're a nurse now yourself.
Oh yes, I was a nurse way before. So I've been a nurse for 16 years now.
Oh, wow. So you were a nurse before this all happened?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't realize that. All right.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, so I've been a nurse since 2006.
Oh.
Yes, I'm old.
Fantastic.
No.
You are not old, honey.
Oh.
And I've done all kinds of nursing, but I never done dialysis nursing. Obvious, I haven't done, was never interested in it. And so, but now I do like to be advocate for all kinds of patients. So.
Excellent. That's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Seth, tell us about you and where are you right now, in case anybody doesn't recognize your background.
I'm actually at one of the clinics, at one of my clinics. I'm well, first of all, my name is Seth McNamara. I'll get around to that. I'll work that into my story. I'm 31 years old. I live in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I was diagnosed with IgA nephropathy, so immunoglobulin nephropathy. So I had too much protein build up over like the course of my life from like birth till I was about 28. And I didn't even realize that this was happening. And it was around this time in 2019. I started just feeling terrible. Could barely walk up the steps sometimes without getting winded. I started getting really bad headaches. And then I went on vacation for Christmas break, and I got back and I was talking to my wife, and she's like, hey, if you're having, these headaches, why don't we go see the eye doctor, And I started also getting blurry vision. It started getting worse and worse.
Yep.
Where, I could see the car in front of me, but I couldn't read the license plate. And so we go to the optometrist and they're like, you need to go to the emergency room right now. So, we have no idea, like what's going on because the eye doctor couldn't diagnose me. They weren't a nephrologist. So we're like, oh man, I'm going to go blind. I'm going to lose my eyesight.
That's terrifying.
We get to the ER and they take my blood pressure and it was like 210 over 160, 170. I don't remember. And they admit me and they monitor me for a few days and then like, you're going to start dialysis tomorrow. I was like, a second opinion? No second opinion. So I got a CVC and I started HHD for about 3 months just because now we're in 2020 and it's COVID just hit. So things were, very much up in the air and scheduling surgeries was taking much longer to get my PD catheter. And so I got my PD catheter and I decided to do CAPD, continuous ambulatory PD. So it just fit with my lifestyle. And as some of you might be able to recognize, I'm actually in a home therapy room at one of my clinics in Tulsa. I'm over 6 clinics as a home therapy biomedical technician. Actually, I got the job because I was doing dialysis at one of the clinics in the home therapy setting.
Wow.
And they were like, hey, we know you work on coffee machines. Are you interested in working on dialysis machines? I was like, what's the pay? And they told me, yeah, I'm interested. So
I mean, that's one way to get to a career path, right?
right. And I'm actually
More than
about to
one.
transition now to being a PCUT, patient care technician in January. I'm very excited about that. So that's my story.
That's yeah, that is
Oh, sorry.
okay.
I did PD for a year and a half, and then I got transplanted 2 Julys ago.
Yay.
And so I'm doing great. Doctors say everything's going great. And it's just wonderful.
Yeah. So PD is one path to transplant, as we've seen right here in this group. All right, so we know what kind of work you do, and Latrice, we know you're a nurse. Amar, you mentioned school and work. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I work as a teacher, middle school. So,
Oh wow,
Um,
what subject?
so right now I'm still working as a substitute, even though I have my teacher license,
Yeah,
only because I'm trying not to get sick since I recently got transplanted.
right. Yes.
So yeah, I'm trying to like pick and choose the classes I go to. But yeah, and I work for Fresenius Next Stage. I'm like one of their lead patient advocates. So
Yep.
I talk to a lot of patients and go to clinics where they're doing hemodialysis, and I introduce them to PD or HHD, and a lot of them are always so surprised. So it's really nice to get that information out
I
there.
wish nobody was surprised by that.
I know.
One
It's
of
unfortunate, yeah.
it is one of
Mhm.
the rights that we MEI fought for people to get is, and this was in 2008 when they updated the conditions for coverage for Medicare, is the right to be told about all of the treatment options and where to get them. And it's still not happening as much as it should be happening, but knowing all of your options is important because some of them fit your life better than others at any given time.
Absolutely.
So did you use a cycler or did you do manuals?
I did
Something-
a cycler.
You used a cycler. And Latrice,
Yeah.
how about you?
I used a cycler.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I did both.
Okay.
Because I was totally allergic to the extranil, and I
Did
have
you
a
get
lot of allergies.
Did you get a
And
rash?
so when I did PD, most of the time I was working. And so those 4 years, I was working as a infection control nurse and quality improvement in a jail, actually.
Wow.
That's when it happened. And so it was, so I would empty, twice, full filling empty twice during the day and then cycle during the night. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. Yeah. Nationally, it's interesting because use of cyclers has just been going up, 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 up over the years, and manuals have been going down, 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 down. So it used to be, trying to remember, it used to be like maybe 40% cyclers, and at this point, it's I think 60 or 70% cyclers.
Wow.
So it's almost hard for people to remember that manuals are still an option, and they're actually a really good option for some folks, depending on your schedule, depending on how well you can sleep with the cycler,
Yeah.
just depending on your life. Every option fits your life in a different way. So, all right. So we got work, we got school. What else did PD let you do?
Guess at night instead of going into the clinic, because I have experienced hemodialysis in the center, and honestly I felt like it was so much easier on my body to do it at home.
Oh, it
Through the
is.
peritoneal,
It absolutely is. Well, the
yeah.
ultrafiltration is so much easier on your body. Coming from a mechanical standpoint, the process of the making of the dialysis within the T machine using the pumps, it's a
Mhm.
lot harder on your body when you're pulling off all that extra liquid in such a short amount of time, as opposed to doing it for 5 days a week, as opposed to 3. So it's just easier on your body. It's easier on your heart.
Yep.
Yeah, and I felt that I would pass out during hemodialysis a couple times.
Mm.
So my story is like I kind of got surprised with kidney disease. I was just passing out all the time randomly, and then, one day I just went to the hospital because it was happening too often, and they're like, "Okay, you need dialysis." I got a chest catheter put in,
Oh
Wow.
my
PD
goodness.
catheter. Yeah, I was like 18 at the time, and I didn't even know what dialysis was. And I was like,
Right.
okay, I'll do this in the hospital. I'll leave and get better. Until somebody came in and was like talking to me about it. And I
Mhm.
saw my mom in the corner, like hysterically crying, like all the time. It's like, it's not a big deal. Like, I'm gonna be better. And then, but turns
Oh.
out I was on dialysis for several years. So yeah, I really do like PD a little bit more than in-center. Even talking to patients, I try not to you know, like they'd like to be in center, but I'm like, wait, there's these options with at home, like that you can do here, but you don't have to go anywhere. So I think it's like a nice way to, I could still study while being on my machine. There's not all these beeping noises. I can sleep, So definitely a lot more freedom, in my opinion, than
Mhm.
hemodialysis for sure.
Yeah.
I would say that my first introduction to dialysis period, I think I was a young kid. My daddy worked as I don't know what you call a PCA or a tech.
Mhm.
And my aunt, who's
Oh,
still a
PC,
tech,
a dialysis tech?
yeah, my
Yeah.
dad was for a short-lived period of
Wow.
time, but my aunt has been for over 30 years. And so I would go visit and I'd be like, oh, this place stinks. So it always felt weird to me. And so I have had one stint of in-center, but I'm a home patient. And they took me over there and they didn't let me know that I was going over there. And I'm a pretty strong person, but I was crying. I was like, I wouldn't want to be here every single day. And it was just because I was exposed early. I don't know. It's like the nursing home and that was like the two places I never wanted to work in my life. Even though I've always thought I was going to be in the medical field, but I had this bad vibe. They always come out, I don't know, dry, crusted, and old or something. They never look happy. And I was like, I don't want to be in a place where I can't be happy and joyous because I think
Mm.
in order to feel good, you have to look good, smell good, and be around people that are happy. And so I actually was dating when I got diagnosed, and I was like, for sure, he's gonna leave now, right? Anyway, so my husband ended up marrying me, and
Oh.
he was like, "No, I take you as you come." And I don't think we thought that we'd be still going through this these many years later. But he's very good support for me, and he's helped me the whole time as we transition. A lot of things have happened, in 2018, I was on PD. A lot of things were happening. I lost the ability to walk um, and move. They don't really know why. And that's why I had to go over to hemo. And so I lived, a few weeks with like that. Very scary.
Very
Um,
scary.
oh, people had to like
Jeez.
wipe me, and I was like, oh my God, this is ridiculous. And I was even going to work with a walker. It was
Oh
something
my.
else. And then
That is some determination.
they were like, first of all, we don't know why you're still alive. Second of all, we don't know why you're sick. And so we're just glad that you're here. And so anyway, I got better, obviously, because I'm here. And but it's just been a transition, but to have that support from home, and I go wherever I want. So I have traveled the whole time. I've been on cruises.
Yeah.
I have been to Vegas. I have been anywhere I want to go. I take that machine and they swap me at the airport. And when I had the PD catheter, they swapped me every time. It went off every single time. And I don't know what they think it is. We've been everywhere. And
That's
so
great.
even with hemo,
Awesome.
and recently I can even travel by myself. And then, usually my aunt is there or something like that, but I can cannulate myself if I really have to. So
So you went from PD to home hemo with a little stop in center when PD stopped working for you.
no, I have only went in center once.
Okay.
one
So
time.
you went pretty much right to home hemo.
I did. I
Wow.
had a catheter in my chest, and then I had a graft, and then that quit working, and now I have a fistula. Yeah.
Good for you. So
Good.
I think it's important. PD can be great for your lifestyle. PD can give you freedom. PD is gentle. PD can be done on your schedule. It isn't always a very long-term therapy. It just totally depends. So Amar did it for 8 years, which is great. I know a very small number of people who've done it for 14 years or 15 years, or in one case, 18 years. But usually at some point, and nobody knows when, because it's very individual, at some point that membrane's going to give out. And so PD, usually you can't do it for 20 years or 30 years. Jen,
Right.
what's the longest you've known of somebody doing PD?
Probably about 12, 10, but it's rare. You don't
rare.
usually hear of that. Yeah.
And it tends to be smaller women who are able to do it for a very long time.
And I don't know why that is either. I don't know if it's glucose. Who knows?
I am not sure. I'm not sure anybody really. Somebody may know that, but not
Someone probably knows that. I don't know that.
At any rate, it's important to know that
Seth knows
the
it.
transplant can come after PD, that home hemo can come after PD, that if at some point PD stops working for you, in-center hemo is not your only option. So Seth, you were going to add something?
Yeah, I like to add a couple things. I thought Latrice and Amar touched on something that's really pivotal for success, whether it's PD or or just dialysis at home in general. Is you're able to do it around your loved ones. You're able to do it in a
Yes.
setting where your loved ones can be there. They can help you. They can encourage you. Or you can just spend time together. Like having little slumber parties or doing now I know Latrice does HHD, but doing it with her husband or her aunt. You can't have your family member just sitting there chilling with you in the in-center. There's just not enough room.
Right.
And also I, as a home therapy technician, people even go from HHD at home to PD. Just because they didn't know about PD or they just didn't really know too much about it, and so they're like, "Oh, I can do PD. Tell me about PD."
In general, the research suggests that that's not a great idea. That it's better to do PD first and then hemo than it is to go the other way around.
Right.
But you know what? I think it works for some people. I think everything
Yes.
works for some people.
Do you know the
So
reason for that?
people are not statistics. Well, I think it probably has to do with, I don't know offhand. I'm not going to pretend that I know. I don't know. Jen,
Yeah,
any
that's
ideas?
interesting.
I thought it had something to do with PD's reliance on residual function.
Yes,
and a lot of
that's
times when people
probably
are that
right.
far along in a hemo journey, they usually don't have as much
Yes.
left. And I believe
Right.
that's the reason.
I think you're right about that. That PD
Yeah.
I think that's
really
what they
does
said.
rely at least a little on residual.
From what I understand it, the longer you have end-stage renal failure, the worse your kidneys are, you can rely on them, and PD still kind of sort of relies on that. So easier to do that first, and then when you're further
Right.
on, then go to hemo.
Right. Well, and PD also protects whatever residual function
You have left.
because it is more gentle, like
Right, that's-
Seth said, at removing the fluid. So your kidneys don't take a hit 3 times a week hard when the water levels go way, way, way up 4 days and then way, way, way down the other 3.
Right.
That's
And
really
that's what I
hard
was
on
kind
kidneys.
of like trying to touch on, like
Yeah.
you may have been on HHD for a little bit, PD is a great option.
Mhm.
PD is a great option, especially if you still have, pretty good to good residual kidney
Yes,
function.
exactly.
Yeah.
Now
And
we did.
on the family
Oh,
thing,
go ahead.
I just wanted to, like, my children used to love helping my dad. They would love bringing him a gauze. They would love bringing him his cap if he didn't bring an extra and he dropped it. That made them feel like they were helping him, and that made them feel like they were big. And that
Yeah.
gave them a sense of empathy, and it really helped. And it made him feel good too, because kids think anything is normal if you present it to them as being normal. So
Mhm.
they thought it was normal. He never felt sick. They felt they were helping him.
This is
They
Nixie,
helped
the
him.
Zoom cat. She loves Zoom. She makes an appearance in many Zooms. So we did have a question from someone on Facebook. And by the way, anybody who is listening can pose a question, just put it in the chat and I will get to it and ask it. I just didn't want to disrupt the conversation. But the question was, who do patients contact when it doesn't happen, when they're not informed of all of the options? That's not something there's a lot of recourse for. It's not like you can, sue anybody for not being told. But I can tell you that I have talked with some very, very angry people who were extremely unhappy that they had not been told about options that would have fit their lives better, that would have allowed them to keep their jobs. So, we built a tool that helps people figure out which option might fit their lives best. And we're not doing these slides today, but I'm just going to put the link to that in the chat. It's called My Kidney Life Plan. And it covers all of the options, and it starts with values. So you start with what matters to you, because that's, to me, the really strange thing. When your kidneys fail, when you're faced with a decision, you don't even know what dialysis is, all of a sudden this hits you out of the blue, or you have some idea that this is coming, but you didn't know it was coming today. Either way, it's a shock. It's really difficult to think about, which of these options do I not want, do I choose? Because I don't want any of them, right?
Right.
It's not like you
No
would
one does.
sign up for these if your kidneys hadn't failed. Like, yes, I would love to do PD, or I would love to do homeo. I was like, no, I would love to do none of the above. I don't want a transplant. I don't want any of the things.
Yeah.
But
That's how everybody's mindset is at the
of
moment.
course it is. Of
Yeah.
course it is. It's to my mind, it's a lot like choosing chemo or radiation. Like, nobody wants any of those either. You do them if you need them.
Like, okay, how many people, if you say like 1 out of 10, how many people actually know what dialysis is before they're presented with it?
Probably not very many.
Not nearly enough.
And
if
even
they
if, and then,
do, they may have a really bad experience from an
Sure.
uncle, grandma, somebody who had a terrible time, so
or
then they
who
think,
even knows about home dialysis? You see on TV or movies, like dialysis is like, seen in the background or whatever, something's going
Yep.
on, like they're on dialysis. It's always in
the
the
media
hospital
is
setting.
not kind to dialysis. They really like to draw that, if you don't get a transplant, you'll die. It's like, yeah,
Right.
it's not, no, it doesn't really work that way. You can live a great life on dialysis, but you got to pick a treatment option that fits where you are with your life right now and what you want to be able to do. And over time, and everybody here has had this happen, over time, there's a decent chance that you're going to switch to something else. You're going to switch from PD to hemo, from hemo to PD, to a transplant. There are options, and the options fit people differently at different times. And that's okay. It's great that there are options. There's plenty of illnesses where there aren't any options. So,
Sure.
yeah. So anyway, I posted the link to the decision aid, and I heard travel, and I heard school, and not the beach. What do you do for fun, Seth?
I play disc golf. I
Oh,
play,
my brother plays that.
yeah. A lot of people started playing during the times of, we're still in times of COVID, but
Yep.
especially in the very beginning stages of COVID, can't really go anywhere. So, let's
You
go
can
to the
be
free park.
outdoors, getting the fresh air.
You buy you 3 discs and you can play any course in the world. So I started getting into that, and I started getting really good. I'm not the best, but
I was going to ask you if you were good.
good enough to win money sometimes.
Nice. I didn't know you could win money playing that.
Yeah, there's tournaments all over the United States. There's even a professional
People
disc
made
golf.
money off of anything, I guess.
Yeah, well, you're
Oh my
right.
gosh.
And also I'm an avid hiker. I'm very blessed and thankful that I got my transplant back in 2021 of July, and it's now allowing me. I'm at the stages now. Next year I'm planning on hiking the Pacific Crest Trail.
Wow.
It's 2,650 miles long. Yeah, I've got to bring my
The
medicine
entire
along.
thing? You're
Yeah.
going to do all of it?
Yeah.
Wow. That is quite a goal.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Way to be,
hiking
Seth.
sticks.
Way to be.
But the PD got me here.
Right. It
Doing
sure
PD got me to a place where, I was able to get a transplant. And so the only thing about hiking this next year that I hadn't planned on is, just all my medicine I gotta take. So, but hey, you know
Yeah.
what? It's just a little extra weight. No big deal.
Ziploc bags.
As a
And there's
planner,
Listen to how resilient you are.
And I mean,
No
and there's
big deal. Just an extra weight in the pack.
right, and there's resupply. There's tons of places to resupply. So I always have like an extra week, and then I'll have like so many days. So I always have my backup.
How long
Yeah.
does that take?
Well, I'm not like most. I'm going to actually try to do it in a little over 2 months, if not 2 months. So I'm gonna have to average about 40 miles a day.
Oh my gosh.
That's
Did you say
the
40 miles a day?
it's really okay. So think
You
about
need
this.
really
Okay?
good shoes.
All right.
That's
If your only
Really good
job,
feet.
or if you think about this, okay, you're out there, okay, your only thing to do is walk, right? If you can average at least 2.5 to 3 miles per hour, and you can hike for about, 15, 7, you can walk for about 15, 17 hours a day. That's putting you close to 40 miles.
You need some serious insoles.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like extra
Email me about
socks.
that. I do know about good insoles. Do you
Yeah.
use hiking sticks?
Yeah, I use trekking poles.
Yeah, we have those. They're great. They're so great.
So,
They've
and I'm
saved
actually
so many
going to
falls.
start off in Canada and hike towards Mexico.
oh wow. So you have to sleep outside. I know this has nothing to do with dialysis.
Oh, yeah, sleeping
Yeah, sleep
outside.
outside.
As soon as people ask me, where you gonna sleep? If they're like, I'm out. I can't do it.
Listen,
There
I
are
am from
spiders out there.
Alabama and everything like that. But listen, I don't. If you're gonna take me camping, I'm a glam clamper. I am high maintenance person.
Yeah, at the how many miles I'm doing each day, I'm going to be not showering that often.
You don't have time.
That's
It just needs to rain on you a lot.
Rainforest, eating mushrooms and worms.
No, I'll pack my own food. So like a way to resupply is to send yourself care packages ahead of time
Oh,
with like so much food. So if you can like dial your like mileage in, you know how far you are from point A to point B.
Mhm.
So it's like I'm gonna need 4 days of food between this place and this place.
How about water? Water's heavy.
I gotta I gotta take care of my own water out there. So that was another thing. I had to prove to my doctor I could filter my water properly. So I like filtered I went out and found like a natural spring, got some water, I filtered it, treated it, sent it in for lab analysis.
oh wow.
Do you have one of those straws that you can just like stick right in a stream and it will filter for you?
I do have one of those, but for actual hiking, that's not the best.
Yeah.
Unless
There
you're
may
just
not be a stream right handy.
well, you got it just really depends where you are. If you're like in Washington and Oregon and the Sierras of California, tons of water. But when you're in the desert, not a lot of water, which is why I'm going south. So I'll be hitting the desert in early fall.
Not so hot. Good idea.
Not so hot.
Does anybody have pets? Because that comes up a lot on TV.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a couple pets. I've got 2 dogs, Max and Marble.
Oh.
I have a cat.
Just this evening, right before we started this webinar, I was answering a question in one of the message boards about someone whose husband was on PD and thought that the wife should get rid of the cats, but like, do you really have to get rid of the cats? How about you keep the cats out of the room
Just
when
keep
you're
them out of the
doing
room.
exchange, and you keep them out of the room when you sleep.
What
so
is it with
they
cats
bite or
and
claw the tubing.
what is it with cats in like PD lines? They just
Cats like any kind
They're
of
cats.
lines. They're cats. They're like, it's
Mhm.
like yarn. I mean, I was trying to figure out why one of my lamps didn't work, and I unplug it and it's all chewed right before the cord. I'm like, great, I got a cord chewing cat. They just like that shape for
Mhm.
reasons that are known only to cats.
Right.
Dogs, leave those things alone, right?
I tell people I don't have any animals except my husband.
Latrice.
He's a mammal. No, I don't like
Yes.
pets. No, I don't like anything with fur. I've had a fish. No, I don't like animals.
Latrice, I'll take you camping.
Uh-uh.
I would
like
like to see the
hiking. I
film
like hiking.
of this.
I do like hiking and stuff.
Yeah.
It's cool. And I
Um,
like looking at maps and stuff.
And then you can sleep in your own bed at night.
Uh-huh. Or
Here.
just, show me a cabin with some running water.
well, you could hike at the AT. They got like these little lean-tos, like little shelters.
Oh.
Hey, we have Jordan. I am going to promote her to panelist, and we can have her weigh in when she pops up, which should be in a second. I mean, we can still talk while we wait.
Right,
Okay.
right.
Does anybody have questions? Who's listening? Because we're happy to answer more questions.
Mhm.
And where is Jordan? Let me try again. Nope.
She's here.
Yeah.
She's here, but she might be like, I see her.
Yeah, Latrice knows. I know.
Okay, I cannot see her, but I'm glad you can see her. Let me. Huh, that's weird.
Maybe she's still joining the sound.
There we go. Hello.
There she is.
Welcome.
Hey, Jordan.
I'm gonna- I'm asking her to unmute.
Uh-oh. She's lagging.
See her, but we can't hear
I'm
her.
settling the kids in for dinner.
Uh-oh.
I think
I'm
her
so-
internet.
Settling the kids
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
in for dinner and get my first.
I think your internet is not quite strong
Yeah, it
enough.
just kicked out again. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is weird because it worked before. Sometimes it can work better if you turn your camera off, if you don't have a lot of bandwidth.
Mm.
Well, we may or may not see Jordan, but she tried. So points.
May I speak about something that maybe people may not want to ask, but may be thinking about?
Sure.
And it's not, and I only talk about this because I spoke on a couple other panels before, and this was brought up, having relations with a partner.
Yep. Good topic. We could probably do a
Great
whole webinar
topic.
just on that.
When I first got my PD catheter, my wife and I, we were like, gotta be careful, don't want to like yank on it or, accidentally get it caught. And I found, just wearing my PD belt, took away all any
Concerned
like
about that.
concerns, about it getting caught, and it just stayed right there, and and so
People asked, and you know what? So many people are afraid to ask a nurse, or they're afraid to ask a tech, or they're
Yes.
afraid to ask anyone or talk
Right.
about that. But the truth is, I mean, a PD belt and a whole lot of tape can be the maker of and breaker of a relationship. And people really need to have connections and intimacy with each other. It doesn't
Right.
matter. Whoever's going to be with you is going to love you anyway. A
Right.
little
And
bit of tape and a
I would
PD
even
belt
ask,
goes a long way.
I would even ask my wife, I'm like, did you even notice I was wearing my PD belt? She's like, no, of course not.
I had other
I
things
was
to look
not paying attention to that.
Well, I took
Good.
pictures.
at. I had
you
way
know.
more fun things to look at than the PD belt. Wait, were you wearing a PD belt?
Well, I took pictures. I was getting married, so all of it is time. When I first got on PD, I had the catheter. I
Right.
even took boudoir pictures from my future husband, which my
Oh, that's so nice.
and they and it was really I mean, they're really tasteful, but my PD belt was in some of the pictures, but it was kind of like my journey. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, no.
But when I went from PD to hemo, one thing I did like is that my hemo is downstairs in my dining room, in my living room. And Seth knows this, from instead of my bedroom.
Mhm.
And that was the one thing,
Wow.
is like, I don't see it in my bedroom,
Sure.
right? So my
Right.
bedroom became my bedroom again. And that
Mhm.
really helped. So, and then another thing goes along with that is the caregiver, that it does take a lot from them. And so my husband belongs to a group for caregivers
Good.
because, he could get burnt out. We've been doing this for 8 years, every day. Every day, something with dialysis. So this year, couple of things that I tried, which has really been very helpful, was I schedule my time. I try to schedule a week in advance. What's happening this week. So we look at Sunday, what's happening, and I schedule my time so that we can have friends and have sort of a regular life. And all my friends, if you want us to do something, tell me a week in advance. We're not just, those kind of things. And we have date night and different things like that. And I think with dialysis, I don't know how it affects the males, but with females, a lot of our hormones are leaving too, which they don't tell you. And
That happens with men too.
and so your libido is lower a little bit because you're just trying to survive, and depends on how you feel. You know what I'm saying? Plus, for us,
Did your libido change, would you say, from PD to home hemo?
I think yes. I think it was lower in PD for some reason to me, but maybe also with depression and how you feel. One of the social workers had to tell me that I was depressed.
Oh,
I mean, I was a functional depressed person, and because I still wanted my life to be the same. And
everybody wants their life to be the same.
I'm a type A kind of personality, kind of person where I don't need anyone to encourage me. I'm my own self-encourager and doer. So you tell me I can't do this? Oh my gosh. I mean, I was still, to this day, I'll go up to her steps and go, I can run up them. Then I get to the first one and be like, you can't do this. But it really takes a while. So you have all these emotions, and you have to think about it. And, it's hard, but I think you have to make plans, and, always, don't let myself get down and look crazy, that all that stuff kind of matters. And I think a lot of people don't talk about that, it's PD and lifestyle. What kind of life and goals do you want? Because there is a life, but you have to make the life. It's not gonna make it.
I think Amar said something really important about that before, that, she knew that it was going to be 8 or 9 years, that she kind of wrapped her head around that and then moved forward in her life to not waste those years just sitting around. So that seems like it was a good strategy for you, Amar.
Yeah, but honestly, it wasn't always like great. I had my days where it was like, man, I don't want to do this anymore. There's nights where my friends would go out and I'd just be anxious to get home and start dialysis, and it was just always like my mind was just health. Like it wasn't it wasn't that easy even to go to school. There's classes that only start at 8 in the morning, so I can't
Ugh.
take those.
Yeah,
Took me
I
a
remember
while.
those classes.
Right. So
I was
it's
not a
kinda
fan.
no, same here. So, but yeah, I mean, it does get better. I think after my first year hump, I started getting into a routine. I started becoming, I guess, more of a homebody, which I like. I've always been a homebody, but it became even more of a homebody. But I
Handy
would,
for COVID.
yeah, I know. Yeah, it worked out. I think I'm so blessed with the way everything kind of worked out, even with getting the transplant. Um, like as soon as I did. I mean, 8 years is a long time, but I finally got it. Like you, I think Jen, you mentioned that people are on dialysis PD for 12, plus years. So that's huge to me that I got it in 8 years. So I feel very blessed, and yeah.
Cool.
Jordan, I'm so glad we have you, and I know your internet's been challenging. Have you seen things? Do you have stories from folks that you've worked with who have found that PD makes their lives work better?
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure.
Uh-oh, you're freezing. Try turning your camera off.
Sure there before I start talking. Stories one more time. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I can't see everyone else's camera except for Dory's, so everybody else's went black, but okay,
But
as
we
long
can
as y'all
hear you
can
well
hear
now.
me.
You are so
Okay.
clear right now. Keep going. Keep going.
Wonderful. Okay, would you repeat the question for me one more time?
I just wondered if you had any favorite stories of folks that you've worked with who had PD just make their lives work better.
Oh, yeah, I've had.
I mean, don't name any names because of HIPAA, obviously.
Right. I've had a lot of different, it just depends on their like age or their work status, retirement status. But PD can give a lot of autonomy that sometimes HHD and for sure Incenter cannot give. And though there is a lot of freedom with both of them, PD sometimes I've just noticed seems like they feel like they've got way more control. They pick the bag type. They are doing an assessment on themselves. So is HHD, but they kind of they feel like a dialysis nurse more whenever they're on PD. You know what I mean? Like they're really absorbing it and learning it. And so they use that in their everyday lives. And, if they're going to be going to a doctor's appointment, then they may cut their, last fill short and not do the last fill and do a manual because they're going to wake up early and they want to make sure that it's done in full. And you know what I mean? So they're just going to wake up and they'll do the manual. And so they kind of mix it and then they just tell the nurse that that's what they did. Or, cycler's not going to work for me because of whatever is going on. There's a bunch of people coming in, bunch of family coming in. We're not going to bed at 7 o'clock tonight. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to switch it up and I'm going to do manuals all day today. And they call us, let us know, get the prescription that they should do, make sure they know what that prescription is. And then they just change the bags in and out. And then obviously my greatest success story is Seth, because he did PD and worked at the same time.
Jordan was one of my nurses.
Oh
yeah. So and Latrice. So he managed to make it work too. He'd go take his breaks, and he was lucky because he was at a clinic so he could turn the air off in a PD controlled air room. But that's like the best case scenario is being able to work at a place you can turn the air off. But lots of good stories, lots of ways that they have really made PD work for them. And then they call and we throw out all kinds of ideas for them on how they can truck drive and do it and travel and do it. turn all the vents and air off while you're driving, and it's going to be slow. It's going to be a slow fill and a slow drain, but you ain't going anywhere for 8 hours anyway, so who cares? You're on a trip. So
what's the longest cycler prescription that you're tending to see?
Oh, that I've ever seen or that I'm seeing on a regular basis?
I guess regular basis.
I'd say
Wow.
the 8 to 9.5 hour
Awesome.
range.
I'm
usually.
so glad to hear that, because sometimes you hear about folks who are they're supposed to be on the cycler for 12 hours or 14 hours. And I'm like, that is not doing PD right. Somebody is not prescribing that correctly. It should
Yeah.
not take 14 hours to do your PD. And if it does take 14 hours, you are better off doing it for 8 and adding a manual. And I'm not a nurse.
Yeah, we tried really hard
I'm
to.
not a
Or
clinician.
two.
Just saying.
Yeah. Do
But
less
I got
bills.
that from Joanne Bargman, who is, one of the global PD expert nephrologists, president of the ISPD. I learned at the feet of the best, but I am not a clinician.
Yeah. Yeah, we try to take a lot of your personal life into consideration.
Awesome.
Night owls, things
Yep.
like that. You can certainly do the cycler in the daytime. It just because you're on the cycler. I have had patients who cycled in the daytime and did not cycle at night because they
Sure.
were doing stuff in the evening or night owls or
Or
whatever.
had trouble
and
sleeping on the cycler and did
couldn't
better.
sleep.
Or they're
sitting.
back.
Yep.
Yeah. So
We've got about 5 minutes left, and what I was thinking I would do is ask each of the three of you, Amar and Seth and Latrice, to just, if there was one thing that you wanted to just say directly to folks who maybe they're not sure about PD, they don't know, just something that you wish you'd known, something like that.
I guess I would say the independence is just huge for me. And even like a lot of people have two of the connectors. So if you wanted to during the dwelling period while you're just sitting there, you can unhook that for however long you dwell for, 1 or 2 hours, and leave your machine for a little bit, which I've been talking to FMC, the engineers, and telling them like, hey, this is a big problem. We need like a line that just lets us disconnect whenever we feel like, because we're just dwelling, we're hanging out,
Right.
So there's no reason to just have one connector or even two connectors, So yeah, I think that's really cool, where you can, if you have anxiety and like something's going on or you need to get up because of an emergency, you can get out of your bed and go do that. Unlike hemo in the clinic, you can just unhook yourself right away and go. So that's I think my biggest thing with PD. I was like, okay, sold. That's awesome.
Terrific. Latrice?
I think I would say that PD peritoneal dialysis is it's a life-saving treatment that anybody can do. I mean, it's not that difficult. It may seem a little scary or different, but it's really not that difficult. In my opinion, if you can read, you can do PD dialysis. Or even for me, I did CIPD. It's as simple as hang the bag, let whatever was dwelling come out, and then fill, and then you dwell for however long your doctor wants you to dwell for. It's that easy. It's there aren't a lot of extra parts or a bunch of extra processes other than the processes take to stay sanitary, so you're not getting peritonitis, making sure you have a clean environment, stuff like that, but that's just good practice anyways, just to make sure that you're not getting infection. So, but I think that's the biggest thing I would say is that, anybody can do peritoneal dialysis, anybody.
I was going to say, I bet Jen would say that you don't even have to know how to read, that she's taught people who
I
do.
know people who couldn't even see. I knew blind people who did
Oh,
PD.
there you go. See,
Wow.
Yeah, like
I knew that was
they
Well,
definitely
they
couldn't
can-
read printed.
yeah.
Yep. You can't do that at PD. It's a good, people can even learn it just from muscle memory. It's so, once you've
Oh,
done
yeah.
something 1,000 times,
Yep.
it's hard to get it, I don't know if you guys do this way or this way.
Yeah.
Well, I'll do both ways.
All right, Latrice,
Okay,
how
you're
about
one of
you?
those.
I think try. I mean, it's just try to do PD. Just try it because I mean, it's an option. Try it. Why not? But I also would say, whatever you try, be patient with yourself and your life, and have grace for yourself.
Definitely.
And I wish I probably would have lasted longer on PD if I just slowed down a little bit and was stop trying to be my whatever I would consider my normal self and give myself grace. And that, this disease is not the end of me, but slow down, take a beat, and live a life, but give yourself grace. That would be whatever option you choose. Give yourself grace so that you can last a long haul until either there's a cure or you can get a transplant and to get some more back of your life. Give
That's so
yourself
good,
grace.
Latrice. That's so
That is
good.
beautiful
Oh.
advice. What a wonderful note to end on.
Yeah.
We all need to give ourselves grace. So I love that. Thank you all. This was a terrific discussion. I really, really appreciated it. We will post this to the Home Dialysis Central webinar page. It will be live in our Facebook group. You'll be able to, if you want to, you'll be able to tell folks that they can see you in a webinar. And if you don't want to, you don't have to tell them, and they're never going to find it on their own. So it'll be fine. So thank you. Thank Fresenius for supporting Home Dialysis Central and webinars like these where people can learn from each other. And I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your night.